even though they're business cards, it's just so you can contact them.
Thank you. Staff Merrick?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Spitaleri and honorable council members, Tat Merrick, 35-year resident of Sunnyvale, small business owner, and candidate for city council. I've got a list of names here, and I'd like you to think about what they all have in common. 11 employees at the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia, Bernie Madoff, Bernard Evers, Jeffrey Skilling, Arthur Anderson, Ken Lay, Charles Ponzi, the city manager of Bell, California, the city manager of Dixon, Illinois, Todd Isaacs, the Illinois State Treasurer, Sunnyvale School District PTA Treasurer, and the LS School Parent-Teacher Organization. And the answer is they're looking at some jail time for things that they've done. Now, these are people that we've assumed are honest throughout our dealings with them, and yet they failed us, and failed us in Bernie Madoff's situation by $20 billion. You know, the Philadelphia Fed was only robbed by for $1 million by 11 employees. Now, they did get the money because one of them got nervous and threw his share into the sewer, and the sewer workers, go figure, turned them in. Instead of keeping the money themselves. So those are all things, and we just don't know where they're going to come from. So we have to be beyond, above reproach in our dealings. The dealings we had with the recycling organization last week, what I would have done is I would have given him a 90-day continuance at the price he wanted and gone out to rebid for another 7-year contract. That would have eliminated any issues, because here's a guy that's gotten into trouble. Maybe he's going to come in at the lowest. Maybe the other guys assumed that there was going to be whatever it was, a 22% glass mix or whatever, in their bids, and he lowballed it so that he could win the bid. But in any case, that's what we should have done as the city of Sunnyvale to protect ourselves, because this has obviously opened up a whole can of worms that is going forward. But we need to be above reproach on our financial dealings. I like our city manager. I like a bunch of you. Some I trust better than others. But you just never know. And I mean, I have it in my industry, when Bernie Madoff was, for example, a clerk in my industry. People are doing it way too much, and they feel entitled to it. And so we need to have the protections in place to prevent it from happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael Goldman.
Thank you, City Council, for listening to me. In my presentation, I initially started, I thought this would be an indication of what the City of Sunnyvale residents would like to see on their City Council, except it's all male, sorry. Propriety and seriousness. And this, I thought, maybe this is an example of what we're getting. And except that I rather like the stateroom scene from the Night at the Opera. Marx Brothers were funny, the writers were extremely witty and erudite. So I thought I'd go with this one, a very popular romanticized version of Last Days of Upper Class, where people can disagree without being disagreeable and maintain form, and get along with people that they really don't particularly care for. I try now these days to think of what would the character played by Maggie Smith do or say. And I would like to commend Councilman Davis's recommendation for a group kind of get together where you can work out things and have some way where you can all address each other and the citizens who come before you in a polite and respectful way. As what we're getting is neither funny nor witty or really anything anyone would like. I never thought these guys were funny even when I was 12. On ethics, Psalm 128, if thou, O Lord, shall not mark iniquities, Lord, who shall stand? Jesus, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Shakespeare's Hamlet. I am myself indifferent honest, but yet I could accuse me of such things that it were better my mother had not borne me. So we all have something we can be regretful of. I have been addressed by some council members in ways that I have found personally belittling or insulting, which is contrary to the Code of Ethics, but I didn't know it at the time, and I assume that the council members involved did not know it either. It's a long document, almost 20 pages. And I perceive a heightening of respect for the citizens who come before you. I agree with many of you on many things and disagree with many of you on other things. I hope that you and we can all treat each other with decency and respect, and that we can look into our own soul and see that there are things that we wish we had not said and not done, and that perhaps we can move on to a finer space where we can work together more equitably. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Steve Hoffman.
Council members, Sunnyvale residents, my name is Steve Hoffman, and I'm also running for council for 2013. I actually ran 2011 for the first time, and the primary reason I ran was because I saw that the city council was non-responsive to issues that residents brought up at council meetings. Later on, I discovered how things appeared to be working in that two major special interest groups contribute money to get council members elected, and then council members appear to reward them with generous compensations, and what I've seen now almost on every single meeting for developers, they get spot changes to the city general plan according to their applications. What was interesting is I decided at the last minute, at the last meeting, to taper down my raising of the issue of ethics. And as I'm sure you all noticed, I actually didn't speak about that issue at the last minute meeting. But I found it very amusing that particularly at the meeting that I chose not to speak, the issue came up in a ferocious manner. What had happened at that last meeting was absolutely unnecessary. It was an escalation that was totally uncalled for. It was a situation where Councilmember Meyering was saying something that has been consistently saying for the last 2 years. There's absolutely nothing new about what he was saying. It was towards the end of the meeting. I think there was only 4 people in the audience. I don't think anybody would have seen or heard what he had said. But the mayor decided to take him on that and squash him and shut him up. And the question that I would like to ask you all, and I know you've all quote from this book over here as to all the codes you allege that he has violated. I've read through this book, a few relevant chapters, and I can say that all of you have violated sections of this code. Nobody is totally clean. But the question I want to ask you today is, what is more important? To raise your voice or to neglect your job? And Pat Meyering made the choice to raise his voice, but do his job. And I'd like to ask you all, what is your opinion about that? What is more important? Please let the public know.
Thank you. Aaron Malone? Maloney? Andy Maloney? Andy Maloney, sorry, couldn't read the writing.
Evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Andy Maloney. I live in Sunnyvale. I really welcome this discussion on ethics. I think this is fantastic. I think it's overdue. And I'd like to throw my 2 cents in. I think that Mr. Meyering has done an outstanding job bringing this up. I think that he got elected on winning arguments, on the substance of the arguments before this city. I think other members of you got elected from receiving campaign donations from, shall we say, people with financial interest in the city. Okay, I'm being honest about what I believe, and I'm sure a lot of other people believe. This man should be left alone. He's doing his job. And I also believe, let's have that discussion on ethics. Let's revise this document right here, Sunnyvale Code of Ethics, which is very, very clever in how it disguises. It doesn't even mention campaign contributions. It mentions the word gifts on number 8 and 12. That's it. It should say campaign contributions. When you mention conflict of interest and you're talking about campaign contributions, you are implying, as Mr. Maloney did just a moment ago, you have an obligation to recuse yourself from a vote that materially would benefit you or the person who gave you money. That's clearly the intent of this document. Why are we not following it? Why is there not stronger language in this document to reflect that? The intent of this document is to do just that. Code of Ethics has everything to do with conflict of interest. That is number 1 job. Conflict of interest. Stop the conflict of interest. Mr. Meyering should be congratulated for what he did. He really should, and people should thank him. I wish that people ran on the substance of the arguments and not running on receiving campaign donations for what votes that would materially benefit those people who gave the money. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the last public comment card I had. I'll go ahead and move on to the general business of the council.